From Daniel Morgan's sharpshooters to the French Charleville muskets that saved Washington's army. Here are 10 guns that changed the course of the American Revolutionary War forever. Number 10. Flintlock Pistols. Starting our countdown at number 10, we have the standard Flintlock pistol. Now, these weren't your Hollywood quick-draw sidearms. These smoothbore single-shot weapons were typically between .54 and .69 caliber, with barrels ranging from 8 to 12 inches and an overall length of about 12 to 16 inches. They weighed roughly 2 to 3 pounds, which sounds light until you're carrying one all day in the summer heat. Here's the thing about these pistols. They were absolutely terrible at range. We're talking 20 to 30 yards maximum effective distance. But that wasn't the point. Officers, dragoons, and naval crews carried these as backup weapons for when things got up close and personal, and reloading a musket simply wasn't an option. At the Battle of Monmouth, General Charles Lee reportedly fired his pistol to rally retreating troops in the chaos of combat. These weren't precision instruments. They were last-chance defenders, close-quarters equalizers, and sometimes the only thing standing between an officer and capture or death. Number 9. Pattern 1776 Infantry Rifle. At number 9, we have the Pattern 1776 Infantry Rifle. This weapon sparked an arms race. The British commissioned this rifle based on the German Jaeger design, creating a .62 caliber rifled firearm with a 30-inch barrel and a specialized hook breech action. Here's where it gets fascinating. Only about 1,000 of these were ever issued, making them incredibly rare. But the ones that made it to the field were absolute game changers. We're talking 300-yard accuracy, which outdistanced both the American Kentucky rifle and every smoothbore musket on the battlefield. The British deployed these in light infantry units, specifically designed to counter American marksmen. Number 8. American Long Rifle. At number 8, we have America's secret weapon, the long rifle. This was a distinctly American innovation, a weapon that represented frontier ingenuity and marksmanship culture that the British simply didn't have. These rifles came in calibers ranging from .45 to .54, with rifled barrels usually between 38 and 41 inches long. They were lighter than military muskets, typically weighing between 7 and 8.5 pounds, and many were custom-built by local gunsmiths. But here's what made them special: an effective range of 200 to 300 yards, with expert marksmen claiming accurate shots out to 400 yards. Now, there was a major drawback. The rifling that gave these weapons their incredible accuracy also made them slower to reload, much slower. But when Daniel Morgan's riflemen used these at Saratoga and Cowpens to systematically pick off British officers from distances musket-armed soldiers couldn't even dream of reaching, they fundamentally changed how battles were fought. Number 7. Holster Pistols. Coming in at number 7, we have holster pistols, also called saddle pistols. These were the big brothers of standard flintlock pistols, ranging from .54 to .65 caliber, with barrel lengths of 8 to 12 inches and overall lengths of 16 to 18 inches. These were designed primarily for cavalry, but officers and couriers commonly carried them as well. Unlike their smaller cousins, these packed serious stopping power. Their accuracy was still minimal beyond 30 yards, but in mounted combat or desperate last stands, they provided multiple quick shots that could mean the difference between victory and defeat. Colonel William Washington famously used holster pistols in headlong cavalry charges against British dragoons at Cowpens. These weapons turned cavalry into a devastating combined arms force. American and British officers often carried finely decorated examples with ornate silver or brass mounts. These weren't just weapons, they were symbols of rank and personal style, crafted with the same care as a gentleman's sword. Number 6. Hessian Dragoon Pistol. At number 6, we have a weapon that struck fear into American hearts, the Hessian Dragoon Pistol. German mercenary cavalry fighting for the British carried these robust military flintlocks, usually in calibers ranging from .69 to .75. These were smooth-bore, single-shot weapons, often over 16 inches long, constructed with brass or iron mountings and a distinctive ball-shaped pommel. The shortened barrel meant they could be reloaded quickly on horseback, though they were only deadly accurate under 25 yards. But that was the point. The intimidating appearance and heavy shot made these favorites for cavalry charges and hand-to-hand engagements. At the Battle of White Plains in 1776, Hessian dragoons wielded these pistols in a famous charge against American forces, scattering militia with the shock and noise of pistol volleys at close range. Number 5. Spanish Model 1757 Infantry Musket. Number 5 might surprise you. It's the Spanish Model 1757 Infantry Musket, and here's why it matters. This was a .69 caliber smooth-bore flintlock with a 41-inch barrel and an overall length of about 57.5 inches. It featured a distinct Michelet flintlock action, unique to Spanish arms, making it both rugged and simple. But the real story isn't the weapon itself, it's the lifeline it represented. Spain allied with the Americans later in the war, and these muskets found their way to Continental forces, particularly in the southern colonies via the Mississippi and Gulf coasts. Remember, American forces faced devastating shortages in the early war years. Soldiers were drilling with broomsticks because there weren't enough actual firearms. Spanish allies shipped thousands of these muskets to rebel forces, arming colonial regulars and militia who otherwise would have been defenseless. This wasn't just about one gun. It was about international support, supply lines, and the global nature of what many Americans think of as their own isolated revolution. Without these Spanish muskets flowing into southern ports, the war in the Carolinas and Georgia might have ended very differently. Number 4. Brown Bess Musket. At number 4, we have the gun that armed both sides of the conflict, the Brown Bess. This generic name actually covers several British musket types, but all share the distinctive .75 caliber smoothbore flintlock design with 42 to 46-inch barrels. This was the mainstay of both British and American forces. Its effective range was roughly 50 to 100 yards, but it could be fired up to 3 or 4 times per minute with trained soldiers. The Brown Bess was prized for its ruggedness and the fearsome bayonet charges that often followed a volley. Here's the twist. American militia used captured Brown Bess muskets almost often as their British foes. At Bunker Hill, Saratoga, and countless skirmishes, you had Americans firing British weapons at British soldiers, while some British units used captured American arms. The war became a bizarre mirror, both sides wielding the same tools of destruction. The Brown Bess was reliable, powerful, and produced in massive quantities. It was the AK-47 of its era. Not fancy, not precise, but absolutely everywhere and nearly indestructible. When formed up in lines and fired in volleys, Brown Bess muskets created walls of lead that no amount of individual courage could penetrate. Now, before we get to the top 3, you might be wondering, if rifled weapons like the American long rifle and the pattern 1776 were much more accurate than smoothbore muskets, why didn't everyone just use rifles? The answer comes down to 3 critical factors: speed, cost, and doctrine. Rifled weapons were much slower to load because the bullet had to be forced down the barrel, engaging with the rifling grooves. In the age of massed volley fire, a soldier who could shoot 4 times per minute had a massive advantage over one who could only shoot once per minute, even if that one shot was more accurate. Rifles were also significantly more expensive to produce. Each barrel had to be carefully crafted with spiral grooves, while smoothbore barrels could be manufactured quickly and cheaply. And finally, military doctrine of the era was built around massed formations firing volleys, not individual marksmanship. Accuracy mattered less than volume of fire and the intimidation of coordinated volleys followed by bayonet charges. But the Americans, with their frontier hunting culture and desperation-driven innovation, found ways to make rifles devastatingly effective in specialized roles. And that brings us to our top 3. Number 3. Pattern 1769 Short Land Musket. Landing at number 3 is the Pattern 1769 Short Land Musket, known as the second model Brown Bess. This was a critical British innovation that became the standard infantry weapon for most of the war. It featured a .75 caliber smooth-bore barrel, 42 inches long, with a full-length walnut stock. The total length was about 58 inches, and it weighed approximately 10.5 pounds. Soldiers could fire lead musket balls at a rate of 3 to 4 shots per minute, with an effective range of about 100 yards, though actual accuracy was far less. For British soldiers, Loyalist forces, and Americans who captured them used the Pattern 1769 musket throughout the entire conflict. From the first shots at Lexington and Concord in 1775 to the final volleys at Yorktown in 1781, this weapon was there. When fixed with bayonets, these muskets became fearsome close-quarters weapons. The British bayonet charge was legendary and terrifying. The Pattern 1769 represented refined military engineering, lighter and more maneuverable than earlier models, but just as powerful and reliable. It was the perfect tool for the linear warfare that dominated 18th century battlefields. Number 2. Charleville Musket. Coming in at number 2, we have the French Charleville Musket, specifically the model 1763 and 1766 variants. And this is where the revolution truly turned. The Charleville was a .69 caliber smoothbore flintlock firearm with a 44 or 45-inch barrel and a lighter frame compared to British muskets. It was famed for its balance and was issued in huge numbers to Continental soldiers after 1777. It fired round lead balls out to roughly 100 yards with slightly superior reliability and faster reloading due to its lighter shot. But this is where it gets crazy. Valley Forge, winter of 1777 to 1778. The Continental Army was freezing, starving, and barely holding together. Soldiers were deserting. Morale was rock bottom. And then the French arrived with thousands of Charleville muskets and military instructors. Baron von Steuben, a Prussian officer working with the French, drilled Washington's army in European military tactics using these new weapons. For the first time, American soldiers could stand toe-to-toe with British regulars in open field combat, trading volleys with equal fire discipline and comparable firepower. The arrival of these muskets marked a turning point. Before Charleville, the Continental Army was mostly guerrilla fighters with whatever weapons they could scavenge. After Charleville, they were a professional military force. The battles of Monmouth and beyond proved it. Americans using French muskets and French training could match the British Empire's finest troops. Number 1. Ferguson Rifle. And here we are, number 1. The Ferguson Rifle. Now, I know what you're thinking. A British weapon at number 1? Stick with me, because this story has a twist you won't see coming. The Ferguson Rifle was a British military breech-loading flintlock, .648 caliber, with a 34.1-inch barrel and a total length of just under 50 inches, weighing approximately 6.9 pounds. Unlike every other weapon on this list, which were muzzle loaders, the Ferguson loaded from the breech. Do you understand how revolutionary this was? A soldier could load this weapon while lying prone, while taking cover, in the rain. It had a firing rate of up to 6 to 10 rounds per minute, 6 to 10, while other rifles managed 1 shot per minute and muskets managed 3 to 4. The rifle bore gave it an effective range up to 200 to 300 yards with significantly improved accuracy. Major Patrick Ferguson's experimental rifle corps terrorized American lines at Brandywine in 1777, rapidly firing in any weather condition. British commanders watching this demonstration saw the future of warfare. So if the British had this incredible superweapon that could fire faster than anything else on the battlefield, with better accuracy than rifles and better rate of fire than muskets, and it could be loaded in any position and any weather, why didn't they mass produce it and crush the rebellion? Because Major Patrick Ferguson was killed at the Battle of Kings Mountain in 1780. And with him died the Ferguson rifle's future in the British military. But Ferguson's rifle was too expensive, too complex, and too different from standard doctrine. The British military leadership didn't trust it. They didn't understand it. Ferguson himself had to personally champion the weapon, training special units and proving its worth in combat. When he died, leading a charge up Kings Mountain in the Carolina backcountry, the institutional knowledge and political support for his rifle died with him. The rifles were withdrawn from service. The manufacturing stopped. A weapon that could have changed the outcome of the war vanished because one man fell in battle. But here's why it's number one on the list. The Ferguson rifle represented the future. Every innovation it contained, breech loading, rapid fire, accuracy combined with speed, would become standard in the next century's firearms. The Ferguson rifle lost the Revolutionary War, but it won the future. Modern military rifles are spiritual descendants of Ferguson's design, while muzzle-loading muskets became museum pieces. It was the gun that was too advanced for its time, killed by institutional inertia and one well-aimed shot on a Carolina hillside. These 10 weapons literally shaped the birth of a nation. So here's my question for you. If you could carry one of these 10 firearms into battle during the Revolutionary War, knowing everything you know now about their strengths and weaknesses, which would you choose and why? Drop your answer in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Revolutionary War firearms, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. We've got more untold stories from history coming your way.